Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ben here, and today I'm going to do a video discussing two guys that just got into the NBA Hall of Fame, two guys who are often compared and discussed on their similar styles of play, and basically who's better. And today I'm going to give my take for who I think is better in the long-standing debate of Jason Kidd versus Steve Nash, and let's get into it. So first of all, I'm just going to go over a little bit about each of their careers, give a little bit of background information in case you're not fully familiar with them. They have interesting careers in that they both played for two of the same teams they spent a lot of their careers with, but basically at opposite times. So I'm just going to discuss that a little bit and talk about a little bit of each of their credentials and go from there. So starting with Jason Kidd, who was drafted first. He was drafted in 1994. He was the Rookie of the Year along with Grant Hill. They were co-rookies of the year, one of the few times that has happened. He started off his career with Dallas. He played 2.5 seasons there before being traded to Phoenix. He played for Phoenix from 1996 until 2001 when he was traded to the Nets for Stephon Marbury. He played for the Nets from 2001 until the 2008 7 to 8 season, and he was traded midway in the 7 to 8 season back to Dallas, where he spent 2007 to 8 until the end of 2012 season. And then his last year, 2012 to 13, he spent with the Knicks, sort of as an older man, you might say. But so basically, the trajectory of his career was Dallas, Phoenix, New Jersey, Dallas. And now real quick, I'm just going to go over to Steve Nash. He was drafted in 96 by the Suns. He played for the Suns in 96 to 97 and 97 to 98. Then he was traded to Dallas, where he played from 98 until 2004. And then he played for the Suns again from 04 to 2012. And then he spent 2 years on the Lakers at the end of his career. But essentially, his career trajectory was Suns, Dallas, Suns. And I think it's interesting that that was his order. And then Jason Kidd was Dallas, Suns, New Jersey, Dallas. They kind of flip-flopped on which teams that they were on, but it was the same two teams. So just a little review. Both guys have really good assistant numbers. That's kind of what they were known for. Great passers, wizards with the ball. Jason Kidd grew up in Oakland and played a lot of street ball, and like people knew him as this fantastic passer on the streets. Steve Nash grew up in Canada and was big into soccer as a kid actually, but then started getting really into basketball later in his like mid-teens and then or early teens. And then he went to play at Santa Clara, which isn't a big basketball school, but he just needed a scholarship somewhere. And he played well there, got into the mid-lottery, and then finally got a chance to really start and play when he got to Dallas, and people saw what he could do, and he really got an opportunity to shine. Both guys led the league in assists 5 times. Let's see here. Kidd was in almost 5 consecutive seasons. He did it in 98, 99, 2000. Or no, he did it in 99, 2000, 2001, 2003, and 4. And then Nash did it in 5, 6, 7, and then 10 and 11. He led the league in assists. Jason Kidd is number 2 all-time in career assists in the NBA behind John Stockton. And Steve Nash is 3rd all-time in assists behind John Stockton. For career stats, Jason Kidd averaged 13 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists a game. He shot 40% from the field and 35% from 3, and he shot 79% from the line. And Steve Nash for his career averaged 14 points a game with 9 assists a game. Let's see here, he shot 49% from the field for his career, and he shot 43% from 3 for his career, along with 90% from the free throw line. So I think when you just look at those statistics right off the bat, you think, okay, well, just straight up Nash had basically the better stats of the two. in that Nash averaged more points a game, the same assists a game. He shot better in all 3 shooting categories. I forgot to talk about steals and blocks. So neither of them really averaged any blocks per game, like less than 1 for their entire career. But Nash averaged a career of about 1 steal per game, and Kidd averaged 2 steals per game. So initially, I'd say Steve Nash has the better statistics. Just as far as shooting and scoring, he's a little bit better. Let's see here. Kidd was as far as all-star games and that type of thing, Kidd was a 10-time All-Star. He was a 6-time All-NBA member. He was a 9-time All-Defensive member. And let's look at Nash. Nash was an 8-time All-Star and 7-time All-NBA like an All-NBA team selection, and a 2-time MVP. Now, initially, the 2-time MVP, that does say a lot. So I'm going to kind of do this like in rounds and assign points to each guy, like sort of tallies, and then at the end I'm going to assign a winner based on those tallies. So I'll say MVPs, I'm going to give 1 tally to Nash because that's a great accomplishment, 2 MVPs. Now, if you didn't know, Jason Kidd did get to the finals twice back-to-back with the Nets, and that's something Steve Nash never did. He never got to the finals with his team. The Suns basically were the team where he was in the prime of his career. Or should I say the better prime. He was younger and in maybe the athletic prime of his career with Dallas, and he made 2 All-Star teams there, but he made 6 All-Star teams with Phoenix, and he more had the career success with them. So I'm going to give 1 point to Kidd for the MVP, 1 point to Nash for the MVPs, but I am going to give 1 point to Kidd for making back-to-back finals, and Steve Nash was never even able to make it to the finals, so that's something I got to give to Kidd. Kidd was also a key contributor on an NBA championship team. I'm going to bundle that into the same category as like playoff success. I'm going to give that to Jason Kidd, that he has a ring and he was a contributor on a finals team, the NBA champion team, whereas Steve Nash never did that. So right now we got sort of a 1-to-1 tie. Now as far as stats go, like 13 points per game for Kidd compared to 14 for Nash. Like, I think that's pretty even. The assists per game is even. The real difference between the two is rebounding. Kidd is a much better rebounder, 6 per game for his career, compared to Nash, who for his career averaged 3. And then Kidd also averaged 2 steals per game for his career, compared to Nash's 1. So in those categories, I'm going to give Jason Kidd a point there, so he's up 2-to-1. But then Nash had the way better shooting splits as far as field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage, because overall he was basically a 50-40-90 guy, and if you don't know what that means, it means you shoot 50% from the field, 40% or better from 3, and 90% or better from the free throw line. So when you can pull that off, which Nash basically did for his career, I'll remind you again, field goal percentage from the field, 49%. 3-point percentage, he's 43% for his career, and free throws, he's 90%. So if he's just 1 tick higher for regular overall field goals, he'd be a 50-40-90 guy for his career. So that gives it 2-to-2. So when you look at that, Nash right now has the MVPs working for him, along with the shooting splits as far as statistics go, and then Kidd has the playoff success and the championship, and then Kidd also has being a better rebounder, being better as far as steals go, and so those I'm going to say are 2-to-2. Something I'll give to Nash is that he definitely had more regular season success than Jason Kidd ever had, as far as like Nash had a 60-win team in Phoenix. I think the best team Jason Kidd ever played on when he was like the man was like a 52 win team in 2001 to 2002 with New Jersey. Like his early years in Dallas, they didn't win at all. In Phoenix, they were like an average, like first round exit playoff team. But in New Jersey, in his first year of them going to the finals, they won 52 games, I think. I'm pretty sure. Whereas Nash won 60, and they were the top seed in the West, which is a lot harder than Jason Kidd playing in the East. So I will give Nash a point for having more regular season success in a much harder conference. But then again, I'm going to give Kidd a point because he's a much better defender overall. A 10-time defensive team selection, I think I read. Yeah, or let's see here. 9-time all-defensive team selection, where Steve Nash never made an all-defensive team. So if you want to review real quick, Jason Kidd has playoff success. He's got better steals and rebounding, and he's got better defense. But Nash has better regular season success in a much harder conference. Nash has better shooting splits, and Nash has MVPs. So right now I'd say it's pretty even. But I guess the one final thing I want to talk about that I think is the determining factor in this conversation maybe is that essentially I think Jason Kidd was a guy that didn't need anybody else to make him good. And what I mean by that is, he was a guy who in Phoenix, at age 25, had a seat, or actually no, let's look here. At age 22 in Dallas, he averaged 17 points per game, 10 assists per game, 7 rebounds, 2 steals. Let's see here. He shot 34% from 3 and 38% from the field, which isn't great, but those other numbers are really good. But when you look at Nash, he never had a really good season until he was 26, so he was a bit of a later developer. He didn't have a season where he averaged double digits until his 5th year in the NBA, which was in Dallas. And really, Nash didn't come into his prime until he was 30 years old in Phoenix, whereas I think you'd say Kidd was in his prime from age, as a rookie, he was Rookie of the Year, and he never really declined until in Dallas, I'd say around 2008 is when he really hit his decline. So he was in his prime for around 14 years, where I'd say Nash was in his prime for, I guess you'd say his 3rd season in Dallas it started. So he from like 26 to 37, so 11 years. So Nash had a shorter prime. Kidd had a longer prime. And overall, I think that a lot of Nash's career success came from playing in a Mike D'Antoni high-paced system that really favors point guards and really makes point guards look good. James Harden's looked fantastic as a point guard in his system in the last 2 years. Chris Paul has played great in his system this last year, and they've had a lot of success as a team. And Steve Nash was the guy who originally had all that success. Jeremy Lin looked like an all-star caliber player when he was playing under Mike D'Antoni's system. So I think that because of these things, I'm going to say that I'm going to give just overall skill and career. Just like, let's say you had to play a game of one-on-one, who would I take? I would definitely take Jason Kidd, because I think Steve Nash played well because of a system, and I think Jason Kidd played well because of his talent. Now, do I think Steve Nash is talented? Of course I do. I think he's extremely talented, and I'm really just splitting hairs here because I think they're very close as far as their overall careers go. I think you might say that you might say Steve Nash had a better career, but I think you'd say Jason Kidd was a better player. If that distinction doesn't make much sense, I'll try to figure out an example here. I think a lot of people would say that. Let me find a good example in my head here, quick. Like you look at Vince Carter and you look at Manu Ginobili. Manu Ginobili is a 4-time champion and a 2-time All-Star, whereas Vince Carter is like an 8-time All-Star but never been a title winner. So you might say Ginobili had the better career, but Vince Carter had more talent. In that same way, I'm going to say Steve Nash had the better career as far as 2 MVPs. But I'm actually going to say J. Kidd is more talented. And even though J. Kidd is the one with the title and Nash isn't, which kind of goes against what I just said, I feel like Nash got a lot more notoriety than Jason Kidd did for his skill because he got the 2 MVPs, which is basically telling the league, yo, this guy's the best player in the league. Whereas I feel like Jason Kidd definitely deserved the MVP in 2001 to 2002. He lost it to Duncan, but I feel like he definitely deserved it. He averaged 15 points a game, 10 assists a game, 7 rebounds, 2 steals. So I'm going to give it to Jason Kidd. You know, I think that it's very close, but I'm going to pick Jason Kidd as the better player. I think that Nash essentially didn't do anything in the NBA outside of Phoenix, where he had the system. That sounds harsh, but let's see here. In 10 years outside of Phoenix that he spent in the NBA, he was a 2-time All-Star. And let me remind you, he was in his physical prime in Phoenix for Dallas for 6 years. And those 6 years of his prime in Dallas, of his physical career, he had 2 All-Star selections, never made an All-Star selection. He was actually Jason Kidd's backup in Phoenix for his first 2 years of his career, which is an interesting fact that not many people know about, that they were teammates at a time in their careers. But he didn't do anything in Los Angeles after he was out of Phoenix, and even in Phoenix he started to trail off a little bit. Now it might have been because of his old age, but I think 2008 to 2009 was their first year without D'Antoni, and his stats dropped. He dropped down from 11 assists a game to only 9.7, 17 points a game to 16. His shooting percentage went from the year before, his last year with D'Antoni, his 3-point percentage was 47 and went down to 44. His field goal percentage stayed the same. But I think that him and D'Antoni were very closely linked, and I think that Jason Kidd never got the opportunity to play with the D'Antoni, but I think if J. Kidd had played with D'Antoni, he would have averaged 22 points a game and 12 assists for his career, whereas with Nash, with him, averaged around 16 and 11. So that being said, I'm giving it to J. Kidd. I think that the benefit of playing with D'Antoni is so huge for a passing point guard that it can't be overlooked that Nash's career really got a huge facelift because of D'Antoni. I always equate Nash to basically like a Kyle Lowry before he made it to Phoenix, and then I think if he had never played in Phoenix and never gotten that coach, he'd basically be remembered how we think of like Kyle Lowry now, like, yeah, an all-star point guard, but not like a Hall of Famer whatsoever. So that's my case, guys. I'm picking Jason Kidd in the end. Let me know what you guys think. I know that they had very similar careers in a lot of ways. It's really hard to pick. They're very similar. They're very close. I'm not saying that Jason Kidd is miles better than Nash. I think that they're very close in talent, about as equal as you could be. I just think that Jason Kidd is just a bit better. That's all I got, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Comment if you have something to say, and I'd love to hear from you. Have a good day. Bye.